Our overall passage for today is John chapter 9, verse 35 through John 10, verse 21. And in this section, we have two I am sayings of Jesus. He refers to himself as both I am the gate for the sheep, as well as I am the good shepherd. And I want to focus on verse 10 and the contrast between two very different individuals, two very different ways of approaching life and even relationships. And that's in John 10:10, where we hear the contrast between the thief and the shepherd. Jesus says the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. That's the difference between the thief and the shepherd. So let's look at each of those in turn. First of all, Jesus says the thief, someone who cannot be trusted, someone who we should all be on the lookout for and on our guard against. A thief comes only to steal, in other words, to take things that don't belong to them and to enrich themselves at the expense of others. The thief comes to steal, comes to kill, comes with violent intentions, and to destroy. The thief is not someone who is building up or adding value, if you will. What a thief sets his or her hand to is diminished and ultimately ruined and destroyed. So obviously, based on what Jesus is saying, we very much want to be on our guard and have our eyes open so that we cannot be taken advantage of or stolen from or harmed by a thief-like person. On the other hand, Jesus says, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Jesus comes to respond to the universal human need to live life well. How do we live life well? Well, we live life well by living it like Jesus does. And Jesus comes to give us abundant life, life that is marked by love and joy and peace and compassion and contentment and justice and truth. All these things that we hear Jesus talk about in all the Gospels, and especially as we're moving through John's Gospel. Jesus does not want to take from us. Jesus wants to greatly add value to our life. Rather than stealing from us, Jesus enriches us. Rather than killing us, Jesus delivers us from the consequences of sin and death and gives us abundant, eternal life. Rather than destroying, Jesus builds us up. What a blessing that we have such a good shepherd to follow. And we want to make sure that we are with him and that we hear his voice and respond to him and that we are on guard against the thief.